Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. Live life. Live fully.
Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We love having you here, and it's our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest tips, skills, and know-how to make you the best that you can be. We know that you have it in you, and we're going to show you how. Now, let's get started.
Good to have you on Live Well by Omobola Stephen. I'm the host of Omobola Stephen. Now, on Live Well by Omobola Stephen, we like to focus on personal development and self-improvement topics as we occasion expert and professionals who are adept in these topics. I need to also reiterate that personal development and self-improvement is a lifelong process that we all must embrace in order to move from where we are to where we need to be today. On today's show, I have April Morse, who is the CEO and co-founder of DigiBuild, a construction software company. Now, welcome with me on Live Well Lived, April Morse.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me on the show. Now, you are here to share your thoughts on the future is female and how the woman is leading the digitization movement in construction. That's a big and interesting topic of discussion, and I'm looking forward to a great time with you moving forward.
Fantastic. Yes. Yep. And it is digitizing construction is difficult, and digitizing it to being a woman is very difficult.
Yeah. Well, we are here to break the glass ceiling.
That's right.
Sure. So as a female authority on construction digitization, so what challenges have you faced in your career and how have you overcome them? Because I believe this is a person question in the heart of my audience.
Yeah, so when you think about construction's pretty far behind on any type of digitization. They're using Excel, Dropbox, back of the napkin type work. I mean, in the past 3 to 4 years, there's been a big change. There's companies like Procore and Autodesk that have really tried to focus on that. So they're kind of the leaders in digitizing construction. But even within that, there's a lot of complexity with it. You've got 150 people coming to a project and all trying to work together, all trying to communicate together using different systems, different communication tools, having different expectations. So they don't all work for each other, but they're there to achieve something. So just setting that parameter, because it is very difficult to on projects to get everybody there on time, delivering their product on time and within budget. And so one of those areas that DigiBuild is focused on is supply chain management. So we do all the bid order and tracking of all the materials for construction projects. And this is a big deal because that is the number one reason why projects are late and not delivered on time is because of supply chain management. And so that's what we're trying to do. So within that field, there's not many people that are working within that specific silo. So that's one of the challenges that we've come across. For me personally, what has been the biggest help of having, a female CEO of a software company for construction is that I have an amazing CEO, Robert Salvador, who understands diversity, bringing women in, and really wanting to make sure that we have a diverse team, not only in gender, but also in our thought processes and how we operate and work. And he looks for the best within anybody within the organization. So I think that is the number one thing within construction, finding those leaders, those, whether they're female or male, that want to bring in other females to help do that, to help run the company within construction, because it's rare. I think less than 3% of women are in construction. And there's a huge portion of women that are growing within the architect and engineer fields, but not so much within project management in the field, doing the day-to-day difficult thing of managing all these different pieces on projects. And so I think that's the key thing, is making sure that if you're a female, that you're finding and connecting with people that are like-minded and understand the importance of bringing diversity to these projects.
Absolutely. Now, in your own opinion, what do you think are the biggest misconception people have about digitization in construction, and how can we address it?
I think that the most difficult challenge is that you've got people at different skill sets, right? So you have folks that come on board that are just laborers, they're not really skilled laborers. Then you have skilled laborers, then you have professional laborers, then you have, management, the C-suite. So you've got all these different levels of individuals coming in, and the software has to be able to meet the needs of all of those individuals. So if you're a skilled or unskilled labor or a skilled, you need to have everything that's mobile app, ready. You need to have things very simplistic. You talk about eighth, they say, when you're writing a book, you do it at an 8th grade level, right? So everybody understands it. Well, that's how software has to be. It has to be almost like childlike or gamified in order for everybody to be able to utilize that. And some of the unskilled labor that we bring in, that some of them don't speak English. It's not their first, English is not their first language. And so there's also the barrier of language barriers and cultural barriers. And so that's one of the biggest challenges, is trying to create something that everybody can tap into and utilize. And then the other piece is that you're not managing these subcontractors. They don't work for you. You contract with them, but they're not part of your company. So you can't mandate things without providing incentives for them to do that. So that's a big piece as well. You can say, well, if you want this job, you have to use this software. Well, then that puts a lot of pressure financially as well as technically on the skilled and unskilled labor. So there's a lot of multiple things that come at individuals when they're trying to do, if you got 10 projects going, or you're working on 3 projects, you got to know how many software programs, and you're not even tech savvy, and everything you have is on your mobile phone, right? So, and you're in the field. So that's kind of it's very complex to develop software that can be utilized across the board for everyone.
And now you want to talk about the areas of digital transformation?
Yeah, I think what we're doing at DigiBuild, I can speak to that, and what I see other companies doing is I see companies out there. I'm working with a company who's developing a workforce app, right? And that workforce app will kind of solve some of the challenges that I just explained to you with skilled and unskilled labor. So a subcontractor who has, say, a drywall company, and he's looking for 3 or 4 people, or maybe 10 people, to do a project with him, this software is going to connect the subcontractor with a unskilled labor or skilled labor. So there's some things there that we're starting to create to help connect people and communities, and that they can talk and work together, where they can show off what they have on their all the different jobs they've done. Maybe they've got 5 likes, making it very simple, but and maybe a couple people that they've worked with have give a couple comments on the work they've done. So that's one piece of how we're trying to digitize it, is to communitize these different silos of groups of people, so that they start working together more efficiently to grow their personal business, and then obviously help the projects as well. So that's one way we're doing it. The other piece that we're doing is for supply chain management within DigiBuild. We're hoping to be the global leader in suppliers, having a supplier database, not only just for general supplies, but also for sustainability. So within our database, we look to find unique products that might be sustainable, or something new that's out there, or for smaller companies to be able to be part of our ecosystem. So we have it where we've identified veteran-owned, women-owned, minority-owned businesses, so that if it's a government project that you're working on and you need to check some boxes on making sure that you're using new innovation or sustainable, or a female-owned organization, you can tap into DigiBuild, and we have access to all of that. And not only do we have access to a few, like most people, when they're bidding on a project, they might have 2 or 3 suppliers they can go look for. Well, with it, because that's all they have time for, right? The capacity and the speed of some of these projects and the work that have to be done, they have very limited time. Well, we've just opened up their world to now they can have 10, 15 different types of suppliers they can look at and and they can price compare or just even have that pricing confidence that they're getting the best deal, either locally or globally. So that's kind of very exciting for us because we're trying to bring all worlds together in one software.
Right now, earlier on, you talked about the low percentage of women in this nature of business, which I quite agree. Don't you think that for every woman out there also, safety is of utmost importance or concern to them? So how can digitization improve safety and reduce accidents on construction site?
They've got lots of applications now, like even clothing, like that is connected to your heart rate, so that they can know, like, hey, this person's really expiring or the heart rate's really up, and so those clothing can actually help save their life. Like, hey, you need to slow down or take a break. So there's a lot of stuff coming out that even like a Fitbit or stuff that's all connected on the job sites to help do that. They have lots of training that they do, but again, if you've got unskilled labor, they don't have access to training programs to go through, then it's very difficult for them to do that. So creating things that are, again, simple that they can have on their phone that say, did you do this? And have it in multiple languages, right? When you come to the job site, you actually have to stretch, and, stretch your body and your neck. And then you have to wear, this watch or this clothing or whatever it is that they're mandating to make sure that people are actually doing some of the most simple things on these job sites to get them to do that. And then we also have drones. We have these really cool software that it's like a camera that just rotates 360 degrees and you can see what's happening at all times. So you can understand if someone isn't doing something properly, they're not bending correctly, they're not hanging the drywall, they're not using those safety measures, they can be caught earlier than later with someone monitoring that because of the technology to see what's happening on the job site 24/7. So I think those are pretty breakthrough softwares and devices that have come together that's connected with software.
Thanks, April, for sharing your thoughts on the show. Moving forward, do you have any success stories that my audience would like to hear about? When it comes to digitized procurement and project management in construction site, and how other companies can learn from them?
I think that it's being able to address a broad audience of people, right? We get stuck in, we're talking to architects, we're talking to engineers, everything's so siloed. So trying to create and bring together software and people where they're all communicating together. I mean, communication drives clarity, right? So that's one of the things that I feel like there's so many silos within construction. But it's just not construction. There's a lot of industries where people get very comfortable with their little group of people. And I think this idea of opening up, these relationships among all these different people within a project or in any industry is very important to get that. You talk about mentoring and coaching. I think we can do that vertically as well as horizontally, right? And so I think it's very important that horizontal is happening, not just the vertical. And that's amongst people and driving community. I don't know if it's COVID that's driven this, but one of the things Starbucks came up with big time, years ago was they saw the need for people to commune together and to be around other people. And so that's why they were very successful. And they created an atmosphere that people wanted to be in and connect with people and to meet with people. And we've kind of lost that with COVID and we need to get back to it. There's a generation of children and people growing up that don't understand that community. And I think that's important. Driving community will help any company across all different types of silos or workflows.
April, so what's the future of digitization in the construction company?
Wow, it's definitely moving. I think there's more movement, I would say, overseas that's driving it. Here there's so much hierarchy, there's so much distrust in that industry, and a lot of younger people are not excited to get into construction as much because it's not digitized. So I think we're breaking down those barriers. I think schools are adopting more construction and skilled labor type of education. But I really feel like we're still behind any other industry. One of the exciting things is that there are individuals that are, working with men and women to give them skill sets within construction. So there's a gentleman called Tyler Sass, and he goes into high schools from 14 to 17, and he starts talking to them about welding. I think he's getting about 11 welding schools across the United States. And he's talking to these younger people that might not be interested in necessarily going into college. They don't want to do that. They like working with their hands. They want to be creative, but yet they want a good, sustainable job. Well, I don't think people even think about me going into welding. The number of women going into welding is crazy. It's really a great story because they like to be creative. They're working with their hands. They can put on the suit and they can do the protection gear. It's like, there's things that women don't feel like they can go do. They're not even aware of it. So what Tyler Sass is doing is going into the schools and sharing all that you could do as a welder and the types of jobs and opportunities that are available. By the way, he has a school that you can go to attend. So I think it's really getting people the opportunity to understand what's out there and then showing them the way where to go to learn those skills and traits, like a Tyler Sass.
April, any exciting news you'd like to share with my audience? Perhaps you have projects that you like for us to know about.
Yeah, well, we're excited because looks like we're going to open an office in Saudi Arabia. So we're expanding globally and partnering with someone. So that's some really big news. We've also partnered with an organization over in the Philippines. It's our social impact program, and it's called Emancipate. And they work with trafficked women, children, and they put them through college and then they give them jobs. So we have a team of people that do things for DigiBuild. And it's one of the other reasons why I created the Construction Technology Institute, is to be able to drive more of creating global communities and people to work together versus apart in their little silos. So Emancipate is our social impact program, and they're doing fantastic. It's a great program. So we're excited to be part of their world as well, and lifting people up and women up in particular.
Absolutely. That's good to know, April. I wish you best of luck in the project and in subsequent ones.
Thank you.
April, do you have any parting word you'd like to share with the womenpreneurs out there and also to my audience?
Yeah, I guess what I would say is the things that has allowed me to overcome poverty, my father committing suicide when I was a young girl, losing him at 8 years old, is in moving from these big, huge corporations like Procter & Gamble that I've worked with and Starbucks, is that there's these core things about me. First, that you've talked about spirituality. Well, I'm a Christian, and so my core that helps me, that spiritual part really helps me, but also understanding who I am. And there's two things that have been pivotal for me. One is Strength Finders. Strength Finders, there's lots of tests out there. There's Myers-Briggs and a whole bunch of things that you can take. But what I liked about Strength Finders is going through the process of understanding what my strengths are versus what I'm not good at, right? And we're our worst own enemy. We beat ourselves up, about what we can't do versus what we've been gifted to do. And so that really was a game changer, is really understanding more about myself, what I brought to the table, and then finding those niches across, it doesn't matter what industry, and utilizing those strengths. And then I think the other piece is emotional intelligence. The first process within emotional intelligence is really understanding your core and who you are, and then being able to relate that to other people. I think those two things I would recommend anybody taking the Strength Finders and learning a little bit more about emotional intelligence as they think about growing themselves and their own careers.
Thanks for sharing that thought with us and also that motivating line, April. Thanks once again. We'd like to have your social media handles and your website.
That's great. You can get in touch with me at april@digibuild.com, or just go into digibuild.com and you'll be able to see our website.
Absolutely. Thank you once again, April Moss, for sharing your thoughts today on the show. I really appreciate your time. I also appreciate all the lessons we have learned. Now, April Moss is the CEO and co-founder of DigiBuild, a construction software company. Now, she shared her thoughts on the future is female, how the woman is leading the digitization movement in construction. Thank you once again. I wish you best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Now, if you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, you can catch up on any course promotion platforms or any distribution platforms that you bump into online, and do have a great time as you listen to thought leaders and professionals share thoughts and insights on topics on the personal development and self-improvement. Always, I need you to stay safe. I talk to you soon.